Overlord.
We are live. We will get back to Megalopolis after. Anyway, how are you, Overlord?
I'm doing fine. I finished a huge chunk of work. Might have a bit more tomorrow, but I had a huge chunk done. So
That's great. What about you, D-Lord?
I'm good. I was dealing with a tooth pain today, but allergies is fun. Going out like a bang. Huh.
Yeah, interesting. Um, so we got two Joker movies. One was great. The other one is like 39th in the 50 movies I've seen. That's not a good thing. Um, that was bad. And I guess we can let Overlord start off with his review for the original Joker in 2019, 5 years ago.
it was really it's a it's like honestly it's like a night and day. That one was like a really a fascinating take. Really fascinating take. It's like an interesting introspection. All sorts of it's like many things. It's a and many quotable and memeable lines. Like I'd give that a good old good old eight, good old eight.
Okay, you liked it
Mm,
that much?
I good eight. Good old eight. Kind of miss some of I kind of miss some of the more over the top Batman action, but yeah, at least I had something good. At least
The emphasis was really for
yeah,
the Joker
and
to
the
stand
mindset's
out.
more mindset.
Yeah.
More,
Did
Okay.
it bother you that this is what I think a lot of people had with the Joker? They were going in expecting it's kind of like why they didn't like Robert Patterson's the Batman because it's more of a detective noir story. Like I think with the Joker, right? It's kind of like it got treated as Wolverine Origins, but an Elseworld version of the Joker. If you're familiar.
yeah, well, let's just vote was still better than X Men Origins Wolverine. Yeah, that one was on the
That doesn't do as well. That doesn't do the Wolverine Origins comic
yeah, I mean
justice.
that movie was awful, and Deadpool will never stop
The
never stop
comic was
taking
good
pot
though.
shots at it.
Bear in
Like
mind, the
even
Wolverine Origins.
literally taking pot shots. Like he literally took, or maybe a point blank shot in that case or two, right?
See, the thing about Wolverine Origins is the reason why I compare it in the Joker, right, to each other is Wolverine Origins was such a good comic series. Marvel made it the founding of Wolverine because the writer went through all the various histories and did it. But like with the first Joker film, it I was apprehensive at first. That's why I asked. Sometimes people thought it was going to be a Batman film or it's just going to be a Elseworld telling like they call there's a universe called the White Knight where the Joker is just there, becomes a philanthropist, kind of a comedian kind of thing, settles down, but he still goes crazy eventually. But there is no Batman in that universe. But
Interesting. I guess now it's the perfect time for the intro. So we had Overlord thoughts on the original Joker. What are yours, D Lord?
I was a little weird at first. It's kind of like the vision I think is there, right? It's kind of like it's fine to have a Batman story that is not a thing. It's like the reason I say it. It's like take into account like you can have a origin story or a side story because that's what makes DC Elseworlds and some of the DC Black books a lot stories a lot better because they're like they seem outlandish or they're different stories
Yeah.
because it's not like, but it's kind of like they do touch upon certain traumas, like because if you think of it as a multiverse, because it's supposed to be like a grimy 80s version of Gotham. And they went more with the Joker because there was an idea the Joker is a manifestation of chaos or unrest of psychosis that people have. That, and a lot of people didn't think it was because it was a $1 billion film, or it made a lot of money.
Yeah.
And then it was a weird phenomenon that Arthur was a downtrodden man and he found a way to rise up, but he was a representative for the decay in Gotham. Because it's kind of like we keep hearing kicking around of Batman, the Batman 2, which might continue to Long Halloween, like in that style. It's because it's not like the Waynes were 100% good. I mean,
Yeah.
Batman, arguable, but like in the Long Halloween, like that's kind of what the movie wants to set up, right? But would they do it? But in this universe, Gotham is corrupt to the core, and Joker's the force that might shake it up. And it's a weird film, like, I think it's more poetic, right? But there's also that part of me, I felt it didn't need a sequel. Because I saw a video, heavy spoiler, right, said he was one of the 4 people who was pushing for a potential sequel, right? But
Yeah.
like the concept, but he knows, but I thought it was a short, simple story. But I'm like, the moment I heard there's a sequel, I'm like, ugh. But the original film is a self-capitulated story with the Joker as an idea. And it turned out to be far better in the concept. A downtrodden man rises up against the society because people want to make fun of him. And the setting and the story fit, you could say, fit the time. And the acting roles weren't that bad. So that's my thoughts.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I thought that movie, I had a blast with it. I remember seeing it twice in theaters when it came out. So I did see it a third time for this podcast here as a refresher. And on that third time, I liked it as much. I had no issue whatsoever with the entire movie. That was peak entertainment. Some people in our circle do hate this movie. Unfortunately, nobody has time. Saturday night or bad night for streaming, I guess. Um, I wished we had more opposition, like people that didn't really like the Joker. Um, I wished we had that, but we don't. But yeah, I thought that was a very entertaining movie. People compare it to other products it's inspired by, and I feel like it's unfair, but I kind of understand where they are coming from because I do it with the sequel. I compare it to the original, and it's bad. It's the same thing, doing the same thing, but worse.
Yeah, and yeah,
No,
Um,
sorry, you can go.
but
I
yeah. The original Joker, I had a blast even on that rewatch. Um, I thought Arthur realizing he matters and exists was a great progress. That was like his character arc throughout the movie. The social worker and system not listening was well shown and told during the story. Um, Joker genuinely laughing after punching out was great. Um, like he broke the machine. That was funny. I thought the humor was really good, despite having a very dark movie. You could still find some humor in it. Um, I think the Joker feeling new emotion and some kind of relief when he did his dance in the bathroom. But here I'm not 100% sure on that statement. Um, like I feel like this movie was really good at speaking about mental illness and we don't really listen to people that need that kind of help, and the
See,
system the system fails them. So what do you want to say, D Lord?
no, part of the original, which people didn't get, and I'm like, because it came out like it was a very different take on the Joker. Like the Batman with Robert Patterson is a very different take on it, and it's more a noir style of Batman, right?
Yeah,
Like the Joker, the reason why he has the funny laugh, it's actually a medical condition.
yeah, but sometimes it does laugh for real.
It's like
But
laugh for
yeah,
real. It's like the uncomfortable like thing of, and then it's like what happens when a person becomes enough, and it's the idea if the Joker became a symbol, because clearly there's a dregs or issues in the city, because it sets up a good system that you're like, you don't need a Batman, but you can tell it in the world of Gotham. That's why I bring up like the White Knight. Like it's a very famous comic and very good comic, very popular, and it doesn't really have a Batman in it. And it's one of those things of, I think, and I'm disappointed in the sequel because it would have been a very easy follow up. It wouldn't have been as good as the first, but you could have. And I mean, when we talk about the sequel, I mean, it's worse. Like, ugh. Last Jedi.
well, Last Jedi was worst, but yeah. Um, I thought the first movie had a great pacing. It went by very fast. It's something happens, the next thing happens right away. There's some time to breathe, but not too much time, and the action and the violence in it felt very realistic, and that's rare because a lot of movies they make violence over the top, and I feel like it wasn't the case with this Joker movie. And every aspect of that movie, I feel like they hit the right marks. I don't have a lot more to say. Well, I have very very long notes, but I won't get into every single things. But yeah, I just like that movie. It's there's action, and I like action, and there's sad moments and good music. Um, it's sad to see that the neighbor wasn't really in love with him, and that's part of his tragedy. Like he needs to create a fake girlfriend to find happiness. It's kind
And
of
then after
tragic.
that, he realized what his life truly was.
Well, there's
Uh,
the whole thing too. Why you thought they were setting up for people thought they were setting up for a sequel initially was because of the end of the first one, if you remember it. It shows the inside of a mental hospital. He's just walked out of it after murdering nurses or something.
yeah,
Like, but that's not like
they don't even address it in the sequel.
they
So
don't address
yeah,
it in the sequel, which is weird, I think. But like, it's kind of in the realm of you understand parts of it, like the girlfriend, right? Like he only snaps because he's like, basically, like what's funny is they base Gotham largely on New York City, and that's exactly what a lot of the comics base it upon. It's dark, it's like grimy, like New York City, right? It has areas that are bad. Like that's why I said there, even if you don't like that kind of a film, Arthur still goes through a reason. It's not like he just snaps and he murders people.
it's pressure. People keep bullying him. Like every aspect of his life is torture, and he breaks at some point. Um, it's
Uh,
it's sad.
there's a line that the Joker uses that comes from most of the early comics, like when he was like a scientist forced to work with the mob, and how before he falls in, Red Hood becomes that path. And it's something he always tries to push Batman with. All it takes is one bad day.
But he got many of them. That's why he broke. But yeah, I'm wondering if any of you have anything else to say about the original Joker.
No, it actually was a film that surprised me, and it's a film surprising that was niche, that I don't think they thought would do exceedingly well. And it outshined a lot of Batman films, but there was also a lot of people too, because it became a very political message too, because people who were on the left or liberals or progressives said it was, oh, Joker's an incel that takes revenge. And other people go, this is it. You should have taken it and treated the mentally ill better. You should treat the downtrodden better. And it's weird how that film became a iconic, like a talking point, I should say.
Yeah, I think it also proved to everyone that a superhero movie could make money without even having a superhero in it, which is very interesting. I will give this movie a 10 out of 10. I have no issue. I just had a blast. My most recent watch was as great as the other two. Can you remind us your grade, Overlord?
I'm gonna give you a good 8. A good 8. A nice good 8. Double brown 8.
And what about you, D-Lord?
I give it I give it about a 9 out of 10. It's one of those things of, the film is a weird film, right? It's kind of like, but then again, I was also in one of the few that I knew kind of what I was walking into with, like, the Batman. Like, I knew it wasn't just going to be your standard Joker goes insane or Batman goes insane and starts breaking faces. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I look at it as how they do it, and I'm like, okay. I'm like, once I realize it, there's an opening. It felt to me there was an opening, a middle, and an end. But what's interesting, as I said, the film feels like a Rorschach test for people who had issues or what they see in it. Leftists saw right-leaning incels. The right saw a person struggling. The mentally ill saw what would happen when you don't take care of them. It's weird. Very different than the sequel.
So, do you want to add anything else, Overlord, before you leave us? Because now we will get into...
Okay, I have a few questions. Since I'm never gonna watch the Joker 2 movie, I want to know how it ends.
It's the same shit, and Joker dies.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have two questions. So, just before my parting words,
I'll get it.
I'm gonna say, just before I leave, I have one more question.
Yeah, go for it.
Are F words allowed, or should I restrain from that? Because for my part, it'll determine what my parting words will be. Do I keep it somewhat?
PG,
do I keep it clean now?
PG, because
okay.
PG.
Okay, so do you know what happens when you take a great movie, and then toss away all that made great, and then just throw away the usual the usual mediocrity that has pushed away the people for so many years? You get what you deserve.
Yeah, that movie was bad. Like, again, it's not the worst thing I've seen. So among the 50 movies I've seen this year, it's in 39th place. And like, what's underneath it is just godly awful. It ranges from a rom-com that freaking promote abusive relationship, and like, rich doctor are fine because they got money even if they beat you up. Like, another movie I hated this year was like The Crow, a terrible remake.
I've
Like
heard I've heard things about it, and I heard it's terrible.
it's terrible. Like what's underneath Joker 2 is like deserves to be underneath it, but like it's sad because I adore the first one, but then we get the
Yeah,
sequel.
guess, yeah. I guess I said that with my parting one, you get what you deserve, and the movie is getting what it deserves.
Yeah. Well, thank you a lot for joining us. What do you have going on your end of the internet?
Watching funny stuff, watching things about some games, mostly with the current, mostly due to how it seemed like a lot of AAA companies are falling apart. Looking right at Ubisoft.
They got what they deserve as well. I
Yeah,
mean,
I mean, I'm mostly
Shanky
taking
money.
looks at some of the indie scene, which seems to be generally what actually gets people interest. I mean, seems that some of the streaming platforms are realizing it and making deal with indie productions because, yeah, the Hollywood productions seem to be struggling to get anything effective and useful. So,
Like the smaller studios, I will tell you this, Overlord. The movies this year in general are really good. Like among the ones I don't recommend, there's maybe one that's good, even if it's a bad movie. I enjoyed it, but like the smaller production are really good.
mhm.
A24 movies are entertaining. Neon is a new guy in town. Does really good movies. It's like Hollywood but better. But yeah, we got
Okay.
good movies this year.
Oh
Joker, Folie doesn't represent the market.
no. Before I let you go, Overlord, I asked you because I usually do gaming or talk about it, right? But like the problems with Ubisoft, what it is, it's just you got to bear in mind it's not just the indie gaming scene that's weird. We are on a verge of a second collapse of video games.
Yeah, I noticed that too. With so many big companies that seem to be just spending more time trying to shoot themselves in the foot because what I like to say is because they shot themselves in the foot and we think that the solution is to try to lodge a bullet in the hole in the foot to try to it's like, ow, my foot, I shot myself in the foot, maybe if I shoot another bullet it'll stop the hole, you'll fill the hole in. Oh no, the hole is bigger.
No shit. Anyway, thank you a lot, Overlord, and we will talk later.
Yeah, okay, so have a nice evening, everyone. Bye.
Yeah. So okay, we are there. The masterpiece that is Joker Folie. Oh my, that movie is terrible. What did you think of Folie, D Lord?
I feel parts of it are really good, but then I feel like the other parts of when they revised the script, they lost the plot. Um, like I feel that like if you were going to make a sequel to the Joker, right? Which would have happened afterwards, right? Maybe in his own mind. But there was a lot of rumors. I said this in the pre, but I'll say it again. So Joaquin Phoenix was coming off of Napoleon, where he was a side piece in his own film. Where, if you know anything about Napoleon, his first wife was not really like he loved his first wife, but he discarded her to marry an empress, which for power.
Yeah.
But they turned it into Joaquin Phoenix's character. That's the whole sole reason, and I'm like, everyone's like, shit. Hopefully they don't do that in Joker. Then they talked about having Harley Quinn in Joker. We're like, okay, it's modern Hollywood. They're not going to have it where the Joker breaks Harley Quinn. Then it was going to be a musical. And then the executives tried to walk back. It wasn't going to be based around Harley Quinn because in the process of making the script, they rewrote it a couple of times. And it's not that some of the performances don't land in the film, it's just the plot doesn't make sense. Like you could see the plot coming a mile away.
Yeah.
Something is up. But they forgot. I've heard it described as a film that we don't know who it's made for. They made the film, the final product was basically an FU to the fans that did it.
I don't know. But Dre, you got the link. You can join us if you want.
Can. No,
Um,
but I say because I used Napoleon as an example because that was the film he was doing it. And everyone's like, surely they're not going to do that to Joaquin Phoenix. And they did do it. And it's not like parts of the film I think are good. Because I talked about it on one of my other streams. It was like some of the parts of it, spoilers. Like, I mean, people, you're either going to watch it or you're not. I think a large majority aren't going to watch it just because no good reviews of this come out. A lot of people walk out of this film seeing, what did I just watch?
I've also seen people walking out of my theater room as well. They were like, "What the fuck is going on?" I dropped the F-bomb, but they left. And
Really? Like middle
yeah,
before the end?
yeah, like the second musical number we had. Hell, some people were wondering that weird intro with the animation. They were wondering if they were watching the right movie.
Well, you got to bear in mind, it's kind of like, it's as I've said to you before. Did you know what the song I'm going to build a mountain means?
No.
You didn't know what it was. That becomes a big part towards the end of the film. But there's two approaches to a musical. The musical numbers can help move the plot, right?
Yeah.
But let's say you were going to build a mountain. Arthur was going to start a revolution, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't happen because the song is about him turning. God gives him ability or divine, takes a hill, turns it into a mountain. He finds a wife. They get married. He bears him a fine son. Then he dies happy or accomplishes something. The ending itself is where you get the last part of the song, and it's this plays no part in it. You have parts of it that are disjointed. Why is something in here? Why do you have the Harley Quinn thing in there? Because it becomes that Harley Quinn becomes the successful person. Depends how much you want to get into spoilers, but
We do get into spoiler right now if you want. So that's your spoiler warning, viewer. If you haven't seen, you will be spoiled.
so it picks up where the first one leaves off, except he's in the criminal wing of Arkham, not the good wing, which in this universe it's not good. It's the one where they don't have running plumbing for obvious reasons. It's what I like the visuals in the film. The visuals in the film make perfect sense. If you've ever seen anything from the Arkham games, that type of thing, the secure wings, where you have murderers, and the guards are taunting him because Joker's famous. They made a made-for-TV movie about him, etc., right? He's in that realm of straight, famous, but they know he's going to trial. You see the whole thing. You're like, okay, is he really the Joker, or is he gonna just plead and get the chair? And then does somebody else take over the Joker? You're like, is the Joker an idea from the prior film more than is it a concept? And it gets there. he struggles. He's like not really happy, but he's a model prisoner going to trial, not like he's crazy. Then he meets Harley Quinn going through a wing doing songs. Now it's like, okay, is she committed? She goes, oh, it's arson. I burned down a building. Okay. But I used to live in your neighborhood too. I'm like, okay, a little bit of convenience.
But then
Different
you
take.
realize she lied.
Well, yeah, no, that's the trick, that she lies. I'm
Right.
like,
Yeah.
so I go, you're going to go the difference on like a different version of Harley Quinn. Okay. That's a psychiatrist. But she, like, it's like, oh, she was inspired by the Joker, right? To be crazy. No, she turns out, like, through the trial, you find out, like, she faked her story, but she liked the idea of the Joker. Because towards the trial, they're building the idea of the Joker. They don't like Arthur Fleck. Like, and there's parts in the film where he literally believes he's Joker, but it's Harley Quinn that has to convince him. There's a part, as I was telling Multi prior, like when you get to the trial, like he starts because the lawyer's like, oh, you want to be like, you're not clinically insane. You got to play insane, like the Joker's a paranoid schizophrenic kind of thing with another personality. Like he has one part in the trial, like it goes in there, but when he becomes a lawyer, it's like it looks very Joker-esque. Like you think he's going to embrace being the Joker. Like he has in his head where he takes the chair, like he takes out Harvey Dent, then he takes a mallet and goes after the judge or shoots the jury, kind of thing. It's kind of like, okay, so he's going to embrace being the Joker. Then it has the weird payoff of after this whole build-up, right? Harley was just getting to know. She's like building him up towards the trial. Then she comes to the trial. But the payoff at the end of the film is he renounces that he's Joker, but Harley still blows the courtroom up, and then you have this weird little nugget of Harvey Dent has a half burned off face. He escapes through the city.
And he get captured again.
He gets captured on the steps. And it's like, well, but you gave up the dream. It's like, okay, then. And then you get to the weird part is because she manipulates him. She goes, oh, I'm pregnant or whatever, because there's a weird sex scene in there. And it's like, oh, because he's trying to, because the lawyer says she's really an affluent daughter who committed herself to get close to you. And it's like, you're like, okay, so what I can do is he's just going to snap. And then there's another prisoner that they've touted, like, right towards the end of the film. Like, after the whole trial and he gets recaptured, right? He's going to be sentenced for murder or whatever. He goes, oh, there's visitation. So he just walks off mopey, like he has nothing to live for anymore. And then the guy who admired the Joker, he's been in the film the entire time. Because there's 3 parts of the film, right? Leading up to it, towards a trial as well. Because of, he starts believing he's Joker, he can be an icon. That the prisoners start rallying around, that he starts and the guards get jealous, kind of thing. But the payoff at the end of the film is that there's a psychotic person who tells this joke about a person being crazy. And then it gets to the punchline and stabs him. Then he cuts the sides of his mouth as Arthur bleeds out on the floor. Because that's when, in his mind, he starts singing the last part, I'm going to build a mountain, and he doesn't get towards the end, where it gets to the point where he takes him to the pearly gates. He goes, I want to have a fine son. And you're like, by this point, you're like, the musical numbers don't make sense. They lost the plot halfway through the film. And then you get towards that end. And it's like, what did I just watch? you butchered everything that made the Joker semi. It went from being a Rorschach test to being this musical rom-com thing where even when there's parts where Arthur starts thinking, am I being manipulated? Because Multi, you remember the dream he had where he was going to get shot in the stomach or she's lying or being manipulative?
Yeah.
Like, he starts questioning the reality.
Yeah.
But it loses this film. It's just like you do not know. It could have been a half decent film, but it lost its plot and it's lost its reason for existing. Because not only does it entirely make Harley Quinn the main character, why break him out if you're just going to turn him in and throw him aside?
Because that's what we do.
Reasons?
Yeah, because reasons. Well,
That's what
they
I
needed to delete him, so.
Well, and if you're saying at the end the Joker's a concept, right? Because I was telling them, there's a concept in DC. It's kind of this weird origin story depending on the era of the Joker. And I'll finish off on this. It's like the idea. We all know what the original origin of the Joker is. He was a scientist pressured into the mob who donned the Red Hood outfit and fell into Ace Chemicals, right? That's like the scientist. You got the second version, which is like the Crown Prince of Crime era, which is like the 70s into the 80s kind of idea. Then you get the last Joker, which is the criminal, which most people in the modern DC universe know of the criminal, which is just a pure psychotic anti-Batman person that has no harms about murdering people.
Yeah.
But like, I'm like, okay. And I'm like, but like at the end of the film, it's like, I'm just like, what did I watch? That's why I compared it to kind of like The Last Jedi. The person who wrote it either lost the script or didn't know what they were writing. Like,
sorry to disrupt you there, but I don't think so. Maybe I missed it. But I don't think he got railed in jail. Did I miss it? If it really happened?
She's talking about the scene where when he gets back from the trial,
Oh, okay.
he talks shit on the judge. The
Yeah.
guards,
Really?
they beat him up and
they do beat him up, but I didn't realize
a baton and they shoved it up his.
Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, I think at that point I was sat out of the movie. To be honest, I was like,
it's a very graphic scene in the film.
Yeah,
where there's like when he comes back from the trial, he's talked like the guards aren't treated well.
Yeah, like, this I got it. Like they were treated like shit, but yeah.
Like it was because the guards are corrupt guards, right?
Yeah, Sparkle. I thought he was only assaulted and beat up really badly, but
and
you're
that's
right.
actually what
D-Lord is right. I remember what he refers to.
That's actually why Arthur, like, that's one of the weird parts in the film that, like, totally breaks him. Like, he becomes, like, this comatose person.
It was already kind of ruined when he realized she didn't care about him.
And it just broke him. And, like, and then, of course, there's that weird pickup, right? Because that's why I said it's just a weird part. Like, it has its ups, like, you think where it's going to pay off. Like, he's going to snap and do something. Because there's always the allusion to the movement that Arthur inspired has caused unrest in Gotham. Because it's not like Gotham is a wonderful place. It's like a dingy version of New York City in the 80s, 70s, or the 80s. The corrupt powers have a lot of pull. But how they execute it it's just that bad. Like, even if, and this is what we knew going into it, like, the worst fears were Joker was going to be a side piece. They were going to move not Gwen Stefani, or they were going to move Lady Gaga to the front of the film. And, like, and then you have, like, the director. It's like, why throw in Easter eggs like scarring Harvey Dent to become Two-Face if you don't? And then the director's like, well, I'm done with this franchise. I'm not doing another one. It's like, what? Because a lot of the reviews that came out, it's a really weird film because, like, if you were going to greenlight it, either do it half-ass or don't do it at all. I mean, did it really need a sequel?
Nope, it didn't need a sequel.
Unless you were going to actually do it as, because it would have been very easy to wrap it up as the Joker became a concept in the universe. But you destroy the main character, you make it the other, that it was never him all along, and it's like, sure, right? Because it's not like they go through the parts of the film and they try to humanize him. Because even the woman, right, that when he went into the apartment during the trial, was like, did you think he was actually going to shoot you? No. So it's like,
can you repeat?
do you remember?
I had a brain freeze.
Do you remember the part in the trial with the woman that when he went into the apartment with the mother and the daughter?
Oh yeah, I do.
And she was on the stand. She goes, I don't think he would have tried to kill me.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like, because you have the courtroom drama as well as the other stuff playing out.
Yeah.
Which, it's a disjointed film where I think they switched the script up at some point. But that's just my thoughts on it, because the ending is absolute. Like, the screenings of it, because bear in mind, this film got destroyed by all parties involved. I think the film had like a 63 critic score.
Wow.
That's like how bad it was.
Yeah.
That was pre the other. Like, and like, you gotta understand the initial screenings of it were awful. Like, for critics to hate it, I mean, that's bad.
Yeah. Do you want to add more?
I'm good.
Okay. Well, I don't have a lot to say. It's a worse version of the original one. My first issue with this: forgettable musical numbers that didn't mark my soul or elevated the story and characters. I feel like every turn they could make a musical, they would, because that's a musical, but like, was that really all needed? Was that really all good? Like, I feel like in the original, um there was almost no music, but when there was music, it would it would leave an impact. You would remember why there's music there. But here, not really. I think the intent was, let's make a 360, let's make a very different movie from the first one. Bad idea. Or maybe it could have been a great idea if the musical numbers were not that bad. um I don't know. I get it, like, they wanted to make a musical, so it's different than the original, but like, people walked away from my theater. Like, I'm sure I'm not the only one. I know other people probably left in other theaters. You expect to see a drama like the original, and you see this. um, yeah, it's just like the original, but with a different skin on top. It's bad. Um, the next issue would be bad acting. Outside of Joaquin Phoenix, the cast were kind of bad. I don't remember any of these like three or four, but like that I noticed, because at some point, I will be honest, I passed out for maybe 2 or 3 minutes in the middle of one of the musical numbers, and when I came back, they kept singing the same song. I was like, okay, I didn't miss much, but like I've seen 3 or 4 people like just walking out. I was like, okay, cool.
Did you get the Sonny and Cher one? Like the Sonny and Cher thing, I didn't mind that moment. Like there's that really interesting moment, like when he like, I'm like, okay, he maybe doubts that Harley Quinn loves him, because it's like, I think
Most
Honey,
people did stay, though. I will admit, most people
yeah,
did stay, and I was surprised by how many people there was. Like, we had a lot more people than I thought we would get, but people still
yeah.
walked away. Um, but yeah, like I was surprised. Like in recent days, I think that was one of the movies where I've seen the most people going to see it as well. Maybe it's because it's a different theater, and the one I go at is not always empty, but like there's not that many people going into it. I don't know what's the factor or reason. But yeah, I won't say it's full because it wasn't full. Like, but there were more people than usual. Um, the third issue I had, way too predictable. The moment Joker represent himself at the trial, the entire movie fall apart. As we know, that's the death row now. There's no way we'll get away with this. But yeah, that was predictable. Um, the next issue I had would be plot armor. Arthur was nearby the wall that blew up. He survived. Yet others were that were further from the explosion were in worse shape than him. Not believable. Um, my next issue would be pacing. Number one, early in the movie, the animated part was filler. Take it out, you don't lose anything. Pacing number two, lots of scene and sequence could have been trimmed down, making the runtime shorter. Number seven, pacing again. The entire third act got so much filler. Like is he escapes to realize he gets rejected by Gaga, but then he get captured again. Okay, cool, cool. After it telegraphed what the ending would be, you predicted it.
Well, what he's talking about, right, is okay. So the cartoon in the beginning, right, about the Joker being a mask of, it's just, you have Arthur who thinks of Arthur himself, and then you have the Joker, which is just the veneer he used to strike out at the world. That's kind of what they were doing. And I'm like, okay, that's a fine setup. Like, there's the part with the Sonny and Cher bit that he starts to doubt if Gaga's character loved him, because he goes, you're supposed to be singing towards me. Oh, but you forget here it's for the audience.
Yeah,
And then there's another part where he starts to, when the lawyer's like, she's trying to manipulate you, do whatever. Like, he has a dream that he's going to be shot in the stomach.
yeah,
Like the psychosis style thing. And then it's like, it's not that I don't get it. right? I think you need to pay off better. It's just that's why I said parts of the film when they had it good, but then there's parts of it that are just not great, right? It's like you don't like if there was a cult of the Joker, right, in the city that they still believed Joker was this revolutionary hero that was going to take out the establishment, you could have done it better. But like Arthur's just a side vehicle because if you don't catch it at the end, the guy who stabs him and he just bleeds out, he still believes he's going to be successful, but he cuts the sides of his mouth. Like the Joker has, a second Joker. But what's the point of that? That guy's never getting out of there either.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, it's strange. It's something that I would have loved to know what the original script was and what the changes were. Because it didn't feel like it was a proper to the sequel to the first. It didn't feel like it was the original concept. And even if I was going to rate it, I'd rate it really low. Like, parts of it, the only thing that saved the film is some of the acting. Like, I think the guards are good. Like, I remember the guards and I remember some of the prisoners, right? Like, the black guy, like, who's always rooting for him and the other ones. It's kind of like, yeah, it's like, I didn't think it was like, I'm like, okay, something's going to happen. Like, he's going to escape the courtroom or something. Like, you can say it's plot armor, but I'm like, someone's going to attack the courtroom because he's probably going to die.
Yeah.
Like, that's just, it's a weird way, but like the film still misses the mark. It wasn't made for that, but that's usually what I say because it doesn't. But anyways, yes.
I will defend the movie a bit. I feel like what did work is you misrepresented it for a second as perfect as a follow-up. I actually agree with you, Gray. I think the sequel is a good sequel. Well, as a sequel, but it's not a good movie. But it's a good follow up. Yeah. I thought it felt like Arthur had the same kind of arc where now he feels like he's seen and he's no longer alone anymore, but then he realizes people like Joker and not really him. That was like, yeah, that was what he went through with that movie.
I think too as well, Multi, I think he's trying to it goes back to what I was saying before, right? Joker 1 felt like a Rorschach test for various audiences. Because even to this day, right? Joker, remember what I was saying, right? Joker 1's kind of like left-leaning people saw angry incels lashing out at the world. Other people saw you weren't treating them. It does have that Rorschach test feel.
Well, in the first one, he needs to become the Joker. He needs to embrace the darkness. And here he needs, yeah, that's a bit different. I will admit, yeah, admit that's a bit different. You're right, but I feel like it tackled mental illness the same way. Maybe that was more like what I was thinking, but it was basically saying the same shit he said in the show of the original movie. Doesn't do that there.
Like,
you're right.
Why would Puddles, like, here's something I didn't think about it. Puddles was his best friend. But
Well,
Puddles
were
was
they
scared,
really friends? I don't
or
think
they
so.
were. Well, they
They
had
were
respect.
acquaintance.
Well, but he threatened either Puddles, right? Or it's like, well, because Puddles said on his stand, right? Well, you're like the person I respected. You were the only person who didn't treat me like shit, basically.
Would that mean they were friends? I don't think so, but yeah.
Friends or acquaintances would be a better way, but
Yeah.
like, but the concept too is like, I think they suck out the concept of what it is. Let's say it was a trial. Let's say you were going to martyr Arthur Fleck's character. You can't look at it as. I think it's one of those things of, I think, when the script got changed, because
I don't
why?
see that. I don't think they changed that much.
You don't think?
No. I think that's exactly what they wanted to do. But the
Okay,
overall message is we don't see sick people, we don't know how to help them out, and they basically use the same shit they had in the first one. But
and
here
there's
it's a musical.
but there's the whole thing, right? Even if you are going to say it, that somebody later on would not be inspired by Arthur Fleck's crimes, right? Um, do you remember the series American Horror Story Hotel? Right, if you did a review of it, like
No,
how
I
the
haven't seen that. No.
other killers are basically killers get inspired by other killers.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, if you were going to pull that off, okay. But I don't know. But then again, it's something that I would have to hatch it up, because I think obviously like a topic too. Because with Agatha all along and a bunch of stuff coming out, like, who is this medium made for? Like, I'm like, what was their targeted demo? If you were trying to recapture the people who saw the first one, I don't know if they would have come back.
Yeah.
And that's why I think, because even then people would give it the benefit of the doubt.
Now to get back to what's predictable, Gray, I feel like I knew he would lose the trial because he would mess up somewhere. It was clear from the get go. Like, even if they have winning chances, he would shoot himself in the foot. But yeah, yeah, that's what I thought. And there's a few things to kind of defend with this movie. The trial aspect was decent, even if it was predictable. Like, I think it was well made. Lots of money went there for sure. Joaquin Phoenix was great in the role again, but I feel like it was more impressive in the original. It was like a watered down version of what he was. Um, the camera work, I guess, is decent. I think. Um, I feel like the movie is just well made, but it's not a good movie. It's like it's a movie that's well made, but with like holes in it. Um, I hated the movie, to be honest. It's not the worst thing I've seen this month or even this year, but yeah. Do you want to add something,
I'll let
D-Lord?
this, as I said, if I didn't say it, I think parts of the film are cinematically shot really good. Like, I think the setting is good. Like, as I said, I think the inside of Arkham is good. It pays off to some of the French comics, the Elseworlds. They capture a gritty setting. They got the visual right, but they didn't execute the story as well. Because, like the trial, right? I agree. Parts of the plot, you knew he was probably going to die, right? Then
The
you
moment
get.
they said Dent wanted him on the rope, I was like, he will mess up and he will end up on the road.
The whole thing, right,
It
is
got
like
poked.
he was going to represent himself. I'm like, oh, so he's going to get martyred.
Yeah.
But like you can think of in the trial, he only screwed himself up when he basically said he wasn't the Joker. Like
No,
I did,
that was way before. That was when he discarded the lawyer. He was like, I want to represent myself. This is when he shot himself in the foot.
but the trial part felt good. The visuals felt good. I just felt like some of the side piece telling didn't go well.
Yeah.
But
Overall, this movie for me is a 5 out of 10. And for me, 5 is bad. Like, it's in the lower end. What about you, D-Lord?
look, only because of the acting and the settings, I give it like a 5. Like, even if you executed minor plots well, like different, and like it would have been slightly better. Like, I was halfway tempted to give it like a 4 just because, like, some of the acting just after a while, it just doesn't feel like there's certain scenes like in Arkham where he starts inspiring the other people around him. Like he stirs his hope for the people around there who are the criminals, which it's like, well, you don't realize your purpose, but he doesn't want to do it. Like, you could arguably say he never wanted to become an icon.
But he
But,
liked it.
but it's also that film that shoots itself in the foot that lost the reason why it exists.
Yeah,
But
that's
it's
a movie we will all forget ever existed.
it's gonna be up there, right? With like, you got to look at it as who was it made for? It's kind of not like that film of
It's waste money. This is what they were doing with this.
yeah, it's that thing of, and that's the thing I might talk about. Like, and I just got to figure out how to pace it or word it myself. Is like for a video or a stream myself, but it's like you have Agatha all along and a bunch of these other shows and movies coming out. Who's the targeted demographic?
Why new moms?
And why would you think the market, but like, and then they were shocked that even the critics and the normies hated it. Like, it didn't do well in screenings.
Even my friend that likes pretty much anything didn't like it. He was like, yeah. What did you think of it? I was like, yeah. That's a 5. That's like,
Are you talking
that's
about
bad.
Cole?
Huh?
Talking about Cole?
No, I'm talking about someone else. The guy I went with to watch the movie. He likes he liked Quentin Mania, the guy that asked me if I like Joker, and I was like, bro, how can you like Quentin Mania and don't like that movie anyway? What do you have going on your end of the internet?
Next week I have Diablo 4. It's gonna be very slow. I have Diablo 4's expansion is next week, and then I might have commentary topics coming up. It's been one of those months I've just been resting and trying to recoup from seasonal allergies and mostly that. But on the 8th, I'll have Vessel of Hatred and other gaming content. And then I do have the topics like I was going to go over because, like, I actually watched the finale of, I actually sat through Rings of Power Season 2.
Wow, you're more brave than me. I stay away from that shit because I don't want to see the first season.
The idea, it's something I'll probably have to figure out a stream of how to do it, to talk about it for what is it, for why is stuff made?
Yeah.
Like, because you got to look at it like Overlord brought up what was going on with Ubisoft. It's not the fact that one game has tanked Ubisoft.
Yeah.
It's multiple games, multiple quarters. They went behind NFTs, right? They thought NFTs would be the future with quartz. That didn't work out. They hedged their bets on a lot of things, and it's taken 3 big game failures. They moved off Assassin's Creed Shadows to next year,
Because
so
they know it's a disaster.
because they didn't have another loss on this quarter. Now, and you can look at it like with Marvels, right? Like I've seen it compared to why, like the movie The Marvels, right? I'm sure it's going to be one of your worst films of the year. The
Not
concept,
really.
you like? If you like The Marvels,
The Marvels, first of all, was last year, and second, I thought that was a fun movie. It was a bad movie, but I enjoyed
Okay.
it.
Okay, so
That was a bad movie that I enjoyed, but that was last year anyway. Like, yeah, it's not this year. Did you forgot it was like November last year? Yeah.
But like
So-
it's that film of the concept. I'm gonna have to work on the outline of it and then do some stuff, and that's what I'm doing. That's what I got going on.
Perfect. Well, we will have a Megalopolis discussion in like an hour from now. I will take a nap just before because I need energy. I don't know what's going on with me. There's less sun, and I guess that affects my vampire body in weird ways. Yeah.
Jokingly, I want to say, remember what happens. 30 Days of Night.
Yeah.
Vampires come out and kill an entire town because of winter.
And we are out for now. See you for Megalopolis in like 1 hour. I will take a